Yesterday, the fast track passed the Senate. It's gone to the president for his signature. He will probably sign it in the dark of night. But, you know, if we step into the Wayback Machine, and a tip of the hat to whoever posted this over on DU a couple days ago. I don't have the original post, so I can't call that person out, but thank you for it. November 10th, 2009. This is in the New York Times. And keep in mind, this was, you know, Barack Obama was president, and this was around the time that they were beginning to negotiate the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, this is where the battle is going, okay? Fast track has passed. So now when these trade bills come before Congress, it's just going to be a straight up or down vote. They can't be amended. They can't be filibustered. But they can still be defeated. Now, the House and Senate are both controlled by Republicans, so it's going to be very difficult to defeat them because the Republicans, you know, are wholly owned subsidiaries of corporate America, the Republican Party, by and large. But this was the thinking at the time. This is an op-ed in the New York Times in their business section on November 10th, 2009. And it's titled American Wages Out of Balance. It's by Edward Haddis, Martin Hutchison, and Anthony Curry. And I don't, you know, interestingly, at the end of the article, it does not say, you know, these guys work for the Cato Institute or these guys, you know, whatever. It just, you know, has their names. But here's what it says. American workers are overpaid relative to equally productive employees elsewhere doing the same work. If the global economy is to get into balance, that gap must close. Now, the first question in my mind is, who cares about the global economy? I mean, it's, you know, arguably there is not a global economy. There are all these national economies that interact with each other in ways that you could call the global economy, but only a transnational corporation would be thinking in terms of, quote, the global economy. And they go on to say this wage gap, the global wage gap has been narrowing. In other words, American wages have been coming down. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And wages in China and Vietnam have been coming up. But recent labor market statistics in the United States suggest the adjustment has not gone far enough. And then they say, and this is just the most outrageous thing that I've seen in years, the big trade deficit is another sign of excessive pay for Americans. Now, let me get this straight. Because we're buying so much cheap junk from China, we are $11 trillion in debt. We had a trade surplus from the George Washington administration until the Reagan administration. We've had trade deficits since the Reagan administration, equaling $11 trillion. And they're saying this is because our workers are paid too much? I think it's because, you know, we went for so-called free trade. We did away with our tariffs. But anyhow, they say one explanation for the attractive prices of imported goods is that American workers are paid too much relative to their foreign peers. Well, yeah, with no tariffs, with no protection. The Chinese have tariffs. You know, they just busted 40 tons, I think it was, of meat being smuggled into China from Vietnam. Some of it was from the 1980s. Now, this meat could now be shipped into the United States because, you know, we had to do away with our country of origin labeling laws. But, you know, they caught it because China has a tariff on imports. We don't. And then they go on, they said it's possible to run the numbers to show that American workers, manufacturing workers, should take an average real wage cut of as much as 20% to get into global balance. See, this is how these people think who are putting together the TPP.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
In fact, they warn us if American wages get stuck above global market clearing levels, as in the 1930s, the result could be something approaching Depression-era levels on unemployment.